Hey everyone, welcome back for another deep dive. And today we're going right to the heart of something that's causing a lot of chatter online right now.
Mm.
OpenAI giving ChatGPT the ability to search the web.
Hmm.
It's a big deal. And to break it all down, we're going to be looking at this article called Pasted Text. OpenAI adds web search to ChatGPT free for all and may just kill the WWW as we know it.
Oh, wow. Kill the WWW as we know it.
Yeah.
That's a pretty big claim, right?
It is, and it really highlights just how much of a game changer this could be, right?
Yeah,
Not just some small update.
definitely. I mean, we're talking about changing how we all use the internet,
Yeah.
like how we find information.
Totally, totally. So maybe before we get too far ahead of ourselves, can you give us like a quick rundown of what this actually means for, everyday people using ChatGPT?
Sure. So imagine you're you're chatting with ChatGPT, right?
Right.
And you need to know the latest news about something that's happening right now. Or, maybe you want to check on the price of a stock or just need to know what the weather's going to be like.
Yeah,
In the past, you'd have to open up a new tab, go to a different website, do a bunch of searches.
absolutely. Yeah.
But now with ChatGPT search, you can just ask it right there in the chat, like, hey, what's the latest on this news story?
Hmm.
And it just pulls the info right from the web, gives you a nice little summary, and even links back to the original sources.
Wow.
And it can even do stuff like show you sports scores right there in the chat. No need to go anywhere
It's
else.
super cool.
Yeah.
So it's basically combining, uh, the power of search with that really easy to use interface that, you know, people love about ChatGPT.
Exactly. Yeah.
And we should mention this is all free, right?
That's right. Totally free. And I think that's really huge when you think about accessibility. For folks who maybe have trouble using those more traditional search engines, or maybe for people who don't speak English as their first language,
Right.
having an AI that can understand you and give you information in a really clear conversational way, I mean, that could be huge for them.
That's a really good point. It's not just about, making things more convenient for people who are already comfortable with technology.
Right.
It's about potentially opening up the internet to, a whole group of people who haven't really had that kind of access before.
Absolutely.
Okay, so we've talked about what it does, but what about the technology behind it?
Right.
What makes ChatGPT search work?
Well, at the heart of it all is GPT-4.
Okay.
That's OpenAI's really, really powerful language model, and they've been, training it on tons and tons of text and code, and they've even added something called a reasoning model.
Hmm. A reasoning model.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. It basically helps ChatGPT understand the information it's finding on the web and interpret it in a way that, makes sense.
So it's not just like mindlessly copying and pasting. It's actually trying to make sense of what it's finding.
Exactly. So, if you ask it a question, it doesn't just give you a random bunch of facts. It tries to put them together in a way that, actually answers your question in a meaningful way.
That's fascinating. And I think I read somewhere that they're not using Bing anymore for their search results, right?
Yeah, that's right. They've actually switched to using some third-party providers, but they haven't said exactly who those are.
Hmm. Okay.
Which, does raise some interesting questions about transparency, right?
Yeah.
Who's deciding what information ChatGPT sees and how are they choosing what to show?
That's a great point. It's something we definitely need to keep an eye on as this technology develops.
Yeah, for sure.
So we've talked about some of the potential good things about ChatGPT search, like making information more accessible. But what about some of the potential downsides?
Well, I think a big one is, if we start relying too much on AI to find and summarize information for us, will we lose some of our own ability to think critically and evaluate sources for ourselves?
Right.
Will we become less likely to dig deep and really explore different perspectives?
And that kind of ties into something else the article mentioned, which is OpenAI's deals with some big news outlets.
Right. Yeah. So they've made agreements with places like the Associated Press, Axel Springer, these big publishers,
Right.
and that gives them access to a ton of really high quality content.
But could that also, create some bias in the search results?
That's the worry, isn't it? If ChatGPT is mainly getting its information from a small number of sources,
Hmm.
could that lead to certain viewpoints being overrepresented or even create echo chambers where people only see information that confirms what they already believe?
Right, right. So like if they're mainly using sources that lean in one political direction or another.
Exactly. It's a tricky situation because on the one hand, You want to make sure people have access to reliable information, but on the other hand, you don't want to limit the diversity of viewpoints that they're exposed to.
Yeah, that makes sense. And on top of all that, they also have that Chrome extension now, right?
Yep. Yeah.
Which basically lets people set ChatGPT as their default search engine.
That's a pretty bold move, I think.
It is. It's like they're going right after Google's main business.
Right. It's like, hey, Google, we're here and we're ready to compete.
And that competition could actually be a good thing for users, right? Like if both companies are trying to be the best, that could lead to, better features and a better experience overall.
Absolutely. Competition often drives innovation, and I think that's something we all benefit from.
So this whole thing with ChatGPT search, it's way bigger than just a new way to find websites, right?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
It's really about how we, as a society, interact with information
Hmm.
and how much we want to rely on AI to be the gatekeeper of knowledge.
Yeah, and I think that's something we all need to be thinking about very carefully.
Well, I think that about wraps up our deep dive for today. We've talked about how ChatGPT search works, the good things and the bad things, and what it all might mean for the future of the internet.
Yeah, it's been a fascinating discussion.
It has. But I think, the biggest question is one that our listeners will have to answer for themselves, right?
Mm.
Like now that AI can basically summarize the entire internet for you, are you going to keep exploring and discovering things on your own? Or are you going to rely on the AI to tell you what's important?
That's a really great question to leave everyone with. It really gets to the heart of what it means to be an informed and engaged citizen in this digital age.
Well said. Thanks for joining me for another deep dive.
My pleasure.
We'll be back soon with more fascinating topics to explore. Until then, stay curious.
And keep searching.